Hi, in this video, I'm solving this problem from an exam I recently gave in a calculus class. The problem gives a certain limit properties of a function and asks the student to create a graph that meets all of those properties. The purpose of a problem like this is to check the student's understanding of what the limits mean graphically. Draw the graph of a function y equals fx that satisfies all of the following properties. First of all, there's a limit as x approaches -3 with a superscript of negative, meaning it approaches it from the left. A limit as x approaches -3 on the right, and the relationship with the value of the function at -3. Third condition is that the limit as x approaches 2 of fx has to be equal to 1, but the value of the function f at 2 has to be equal to -1. All right, let's draw ourselves the x and y axes. And it looks like we need to go as far left as -3 and as far right as +2. And vertically, we need at least y equals 1 for the third condition, and at least y equals -1 for the fourth condition. First, let's deal with what's happening at -3. At -3, the limit as x approaches from the left has to exist. It has to come to a limit, and it has to be equal to some value. In other words, it has to exist and it has to be finite. So for example, it cannot go up to a vertical asymptote that way or a vertical asymptote this way, because there's no way it can be equal to a value of f. So it has to be equal to something, so it doesn't matter. The question doesn't say what's equal to. So let's make sure it has a limit, and let's make sure it's equal to f of -3 at that point. So let's fill it in. This is the limit as x approaches -3 from the left. And this filled in point is the value of the function at -3 itself. All right, now there's a limit as x approaches -3 on the right. So that limit has to exist, and it cannot be the same point. So don't make it go to the same point. Just make it go somewhere else. It could go to a different point over here. It could go to a vertical asymptote over there, or it could go to a vertical asymptote down here. Okay, it doesn't matter, pick one. I see that most people in my class picked that one, so I'll stay with that. All right, so that takes care of these two conditions. Now the third condition is that the limit as x approaches 2 has to be equal to 1. As x approaches the number 2 here, the value of the function has to approach 1. The value of y has to approach 1. So that means it has to approach this point right here, 2, 1. For the limit to exist, it has to be the same on the right and on the left both. So just do something like that and you're fine. And then just for the sake of continuity, just connect them together. By the way, there's no requirement that says the function has to be continuous. So if you leave a gap in between, that's perfectly fine. And then the last condition is that f of 2 has to be equal to -1. So when x is equal to 2, the function itself has to be equal to -1. So there has to be the point 2, -1 totally separate there. Right, that's the end of the question. So how can things go wrong? Things can go wrong, for example, if people leave both of these open. An open point means the value of the function is not at that point. If you leave both of them open, that will be wrong, because the value of the function f of -3 is supposed to be equal to that limit right there. So this has to be filled in. There are also some random wrong thing, like people only do the limit on one side at x approaching 2. And that's wrong, because if the limit exists, it has to exist at the same point on both sides. That's the definition of the limit. both sides come to the same y value. There are a few people who make this mistake. They draw this line here, and that's fine. And then they draw that line there. So in terms of the limits, then yes, they got the limits and they got the limits. But in terms of what the question asks for, and what you got to be careful in a lot of contexts, is that the question is asking for a function. A function cannot fail the vertical line test. A function, when given an x value, can only has one y value. It cannot have two y values. So that would be something that's wrong. So the easiest thing is actually just connect these together. Then we're fine. All right, hope that helps. Thanks for watching. Bye.